Hello everyone. In this video we're going to go ahead and look at the information that's found in Chapter 3, Section 3.7 of your textbook, and it talks about converting fractions to decimals. So before we had converted decimals to fractions, now we're going to use a different process. So basically the steps for doing that are fairly straightforward. What you're going to do is you divide your numerator by the denominator, and then you add your decimal point and add zeros wherever it's needed. So we're going to go ahead, we've done something similar to this before, but just to kind of practice, remember what we talked about when we're adding decimals. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So we're going to divide the numerator by the denominator. What does that look like? Well, you've seen me do this with fractions before. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to bring the 4 down. So we say to ourselves, can 5 divide into 4? No, it cannot. So we're going to put our decimal point here, and we're going to add a 0. Because I added the decimal point, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put the decimal point up here. So we know that 5 goes into 40 8 times. So our answer for this is 8/10. That's pretty much the process, how we go ahead and we convert the fractions to decimals. Let's look at this one here. It's a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take this, I'm going to bring my 1 down. We all know that 3 cannot divide into 1. So I'm going to add my decimal point, put my decimal point up here, I'm going to add a 0 here. So then I'm going to go ahead, we know 3 goes into 10 9 times. I'm going to go ahead and, I'm sorry, it goes in 3 times. See, even instructors make mistakes. So it goes in 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. So we go ahead and subtract that, we get a 1 again. Well, we can't have, we have a remainder here, that's not going to work, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add a 0 here. I'm going to bring down a 0 here. We know that it's going to go in 3 times. So I'll go ahead, subtract my 9. I get 1 again. I bring another 0 down. I know that 3 goes into 10 3 times. If you notice, this is what we refer to as a repeating decimal. I could divide this for the next hour, and I'm going to keep getting 0.33333. When we have something like this, generally what we do is we stop at the hundredths place. So once we've come here and we know that it's a repeating decimal, it's going to round here because this is a 3. Basically, we're going to stop it at this number right here, and we're going to know that our answer is 0.33. So that's kind of how we handle a repeating decimal. Now, had it been a repeating decimal where it was, say, 0.56 and the 6 kept going, then we would round it up to 0.57. So we follow our rules of rounding that we had learned in earlier videos, but we're going to stop it at the hundredths place if it's a repeating decimal when it comes to division. Finally, we have a problem that looks like this. In these other ones, notice that your numerator is smaller than the denominator. What happens when your denominator is bigger and you're dealing with an improper fraction? Basically, what we're looking at is what we would go ahead and put our decimal point in here after the whole number, just like we would for if we were going to be dividing something that had a decimal after it. But we know 4 goes into 22 5 times. So we get 5 times 4 is 20. We subtract, we get our 2. I'm going to add a 0 like we do in division. And we know that 4 goes into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. So then we have our decimal, it looks like 5 and 5/10 is our answer. So that's what we do when we're dealing with converting fractions to decimals.